Good evening. Let us begin with a truth often mistaken for a weakness. In a world that screams for constant reaction, where every provocation demands a reply and every voice insists on being heard, the most formidable power can be found in a deliberate, strategic silence. This is not the silence of defeat, of having nothing to say. It is the silence of the loaded chamber, the silence of the predator that does not roar to announce its presence. It is the conscious, active choice to withhold your most precious asset, your attention. Consider the landscape you navigate. It is a city of noise, a digital and human cacophony designed to trigger you, to pull your strings, to make you dance to rhythms you did not choose. The insult flung across a room, the petty complaint designed to ensnare you in drama, the endless stream of opinions shouting for your agreement or your outrage. To react is to obey. It is to grant the provocateur a victory. You have taken their bait. You have spent your energy, your focus, your peace, currency you can never get back on their terms. But there is another way. See it not as ignoring, in the childish sense. See it as a tactical withdrawal of engagement. A fortress wall raised not in fear, but in absolute choice. When you master this, you are no longer a pawn on their board. You become the player who can, with a glance, decide which pieces even matter in the game. Your silence becomes a statement more deafening than any retort. It says, "You are not relevant to my mission. Your noise is not worthy of my energy. You do not control my focus." This power is rooted in a simple, brutal arithmetic. Your time, your mental clarity, your emotional resolve, these are the non-negotiable resources of your crusade. Every moment spent in a fruitless argument, in defending yourself from a trivial slight, in absorbing the venom of a professional antagonist, is a moment stolen from your true purpose. It is ammunition wasted on a decoy. Strategic silence is the discipline that conserves that ammunition for the true threats, the meaningful battles. It is the understanding that not every skirmish deserves a soldier of your caliber. I have learned this in the shadows. The criminal mind thrives on reaction. A robber panics when his heist is met with silent, advancing darkness, not a shouted threat. A chaos agent is empowered by the riots he incites. He is disarmed by a city that refuses to burn. Your silence, when properly deployed, creates a vacuum of expectation. It unsettles. It forces the other party to confront the echo of their own emptiness. They prepared for a fight. You gave them nothing. And in that nothing there is a profound and unnerving power. Do not mistake this for passivity. It is the opposite. Passivity is being unaware, being a leaf blown by the wind. This is a conscious, active filtration system for your reality. You are the gatekeeper of your own mind. You look at the incoming distraction, the intended insult, the engineered crisis, and you make a sovereign decision. This does not cross the threshold. You do not register it. You do not process it. You let it pass by like a cold wind, felt but unanswered. Your internal monologue remains fixed on the objective, the plan, the next necessary step. This is the foundation of everything that follows. Before you can protect your energy, amplify your priorities, or command respect, you must first master this initial fundamental choice, the choice of what deserves your attention. What you ignore defines the borders of your world. It declares what you are, and more importantly, what you are not. A man who engages with every barking dog on the street will never reach his destination. A man who walks past them, eyes fixed ahead, owns the very street he walks on. That is the misunderstood art. It is not rudeness. It is not weakness. It is the first, silent stroke of control in a world desperate to make you lose it. It is the recognition that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is absolutely nothing at all. Master this, and you have taken the first step out of the noise. To wield silence effectively, you must first understand the currency you are protecting. Your attention is not an infinite well. It is a vault that holds a finite precious reserve. Every glance, every moment of worry, every second of engaged thought is a withdrawal, and the world is filled with thieves. They do not always wear masks. Their weapons are not guns, but provocations. A colleague's chronic pessimism, draining the room's energy, the anonymous voice online, crafting outrage for clicks, the relative who demands emotional labor through manufactured drama. They are attention thieves. And their business model depends entirely on your compliance, on your willingness to make a withdrawal from your vault and hand it to them. This is the economics of your own mind. You are the chief executive, the accountant, the security detail. Every transaction must be audited. Strategic ignoring is not merely a defensive tactic, it is your investment portfolio. When you ignore the trivial, you are not being stingy, you are being wise. You are choosing to invest your capital elsewhere. Consider the arithmetic of a single evening. You have, let us say, 3 hours of true, focused mental capital before exhaustion sets in. You can spend it, you can invest it. Option 1, you engage in a pointless debate on a screen. You spend 30 minutes crafting retorts, feeling your pulse quicken, your focus fragment. You have made a withdrawal. You have paid your attention to a stranger, and your vault is now poor. You have nothing to show for it but a residue of anger and depleted will. The thief is richer, you are poorer. Option 2, you see the provocation for what it is, a demand for a withdrawal. You let it pass. You offer no entry point. The silence that follows is not empty, it is now filled with the capital you have conserved. That same 30 minutes becomes an investment in a skill, in a plan, in rest that truly restores, in a conversation that actually matters. The capital compounds. Your vault grows. Your strength grows. The thief is left standing outside, tapping at a window that will never open. This is the cornerstone of all real power. Not physical strength, which can be depleted, but the unassailable strength of a focused will. A will that cannot be bought or diverted, because it has learned the value of its own currency. When you understand this, your entire perspective shifts. You stop seeing distractions as minor annoyances. You see them as attempted robberies, a complaint designed to pull you into a cycle of problem-solving you did not choose. A robbery, a rumor meant to hook your anxiety. A robbery, a demand for an instant reaction to something of no consequence. A robbery. Your silence is the vault door swinging shut. It is the sound of the transaction being denied. It is you looking at the would-be thief and without a word communicating a simple truth. I know what this is, and I do not pay. This economy scales. It applies to the newts of your day and to the years of your life. People will try to spend your attention for you. They will present you with their emergencies and insist they become yours. They will wave their dramas like bright flags, trying to pull your gaze from your own path. If your attention is a spotlight, they will do anything to stand in its beam. To ignore them is not to be cold, it is to be the sole operator of the light. You decide what it illuminates. You decide what remains in the darkness where it belongs. The power you feel when you master. This is not the power of aggression. It is the deeper, more formidable power of conservation. It is the power of a man who knows the exact value of his resources and guards them with absolute precision. He is not swayed by every passing wind because he is anchored to what he has chosen to build. His peace, his purpose, his mission. These are the appreciating assets. Everything else is noise on the exchange. So audit your attention, track your expenditures, and when you feel the pull, the hook trying to catch your mind, ask the only question that matters. Is this an investment or is this a theft? Your future is built by what you choose to fund. Choose wisely. With your attention secured as capital, the next question becomes, what do you build with it? You build a perimeter. You build a defense not of stone, but of silence. Because once they realize they cannot loot your vault, they will try to lay siege to it. They will manufacture storms at your gates, hoping you will come out to fight in the rain they created. This is the power of the shield. Not a shield you hold up in a clash of swords, but a shield of negation. A shield that says the conflict itself does not exist unless you recognize it. Most of the chaos you are invited to join is not real. It is performance. It is a tool. The person who thrives on drama is a psychic vampire. They do not want a solution. They want the energy you expend in the struggle. The critic, who deals only in insults, is a painter who only uses one color, poison. They are not interested in truth. They are interested in seeing you smear yourself with their palate, your engaged anger, your frustration, your frantic explanation. These are what they feed on. Your silence is the famine. When you ignore the manufactured crisis, you are not avoiding a problem. You are denying it the one thing it needs to live, your reaction. You are watching a fire they poured gasoline on, and you are simply refusing to blow on the flames. In time, it consumes only the fuel they brought, and then it gutters out, leaving them alone in the dark, holding an empty can. Think of your mind as a command center. On the walls are screens, monitoring vital data. Some screens show real threats, real objectives, real allies, but others are fed by wires that others have tried to splice into your system. They show only static. They broadcast fear or outrage or trivialities. The weak commander spends his time shouting at the static, adjusting the dead channels, trying to make sense of noise. The strong commander identifies the foreign wire, and he does not debate it. He does not argue with the screen. He reaches back, finds the source of the intrusion, and disconnects it. The screen goes dark, the static stops. The silence that follows is not empty, it is the sound of regained clarity. This is your psychological immune system. A body does not debate a virus. It does not reason with a toxin. It identifies the invader and walls it off. It ignores it at a cellular level, focusing all resources on the health of the whole. When you ignore the emotional toxin, the professional virus, you are doing the same. You are not weak for refusing to fight the infection on its terms. You are strong for rendering it irrelevant to the system's operation. The insult is a dead cell. The provocation is a foreign agent with no host. It enters, finds no purchase, and is flushed away. You will be called cold for this. You will be called inhuman. This is the last gasp of the energy thief whose meal ticket has been torn up. They must pathologize your strength to explain their own weakness. They must call your discipline a disorder because it exposes their chaos for what it is, a choice. Let them. Their words are the rattle of the locked gate, a monument to your refusal to let their emergency become yours. This shield does more than protect, it reveals. In the silent space you create by not engaging, their true nature is laid bare. Without your reaction to shape themselves against, they are forced to confront the hollow core of their own endeavor. The troll, ignored, is just a person typing into a void. The instigator, met with calm disengagement, is left alone on their stage, performing to an empty house. You have not defeated them with a greater force. You have dissolved them by removing the battlefield. So when the storm is sent to your door, do not reach for your coat, do not step outside. Turn on the lights inside. Study your maps, tend to your tools. Let the wind howl. It is not your storm. Your silence is the roof over your head, the walls around your purpose. It is the declaration that your peace is not negotiable currency for their wars. Protect your center and let the periphery rage. It will burn itself out. A shield does not exist merely to block. A fortress wall is not an end in itself. It exists to create a protected space within, a quiet space. And in that quiet, something crucial happens. Everything you truly care about becomes louder. When you master the art of strategic silence, when you build that wall against the noise, you are not creating a vacuum of emptiness. Why? Oh, you are creating a vacuum of focus, and nature abhors a vacuum. What rushes in to fill that silent, guarded space is not nothingness. It is your purpose, your priorities, your true voice. By systematically ignoring the irrelevant, you are not subtracting from your life. You are applying a brutal, necessary amplifier to the parts that matter. Think of your mind as a crowded room, a loud, chaotic room where everyone is shouting, fears, demands, other people's opinions, the chatter of 1,000 trivialities. In that room, your own voice, the quiet, steady one that speaks of your mission, your goals, your genuine desires, is drowned out. You can barely hear it. You strain, and you catch only fragments before another shout pulls you away. Strategic ignoring is the process of escorting the shouters one by one out of the room. It is not a negotiation. It is a removal, and with each departure, the room grows quieter. the static fades, and suddenly, without you having to shout yourself, your own voice becomes clear. It becomes the dominant sound in the room. You can finally hear what it has been trying to tell you. This is the silent amplifier. It works on a simple physical principle: energy redirected. The mental energy you are not spending on decoding an insult is now energy available for solving a real problem. The emotional resilience you are not wasting on manufactured drama is now resilience you can apply to a real relationship. The time you are not losing in an online argument is now time for a skill, for strategy, for rest that actually rebuilds you. You have not gained new hours in the day. You have reclaimed the ones that were being stolen, and you have funneled them directly into the core of who you are. Your priorities are not defined by what you say you care about. They are defined in brutal reality by what gets your attention, by what you feed with your FOC. You can claim a project as your priority, but if you let every ping on your phone, every minor complaint, every superficial demand pull you away, then your true priority is distraction. Your silence toward the trivial is the loudest statement you can make about the essential. It is the action that proves the words. When you ignore the 10 things that do not matter, the one thing that does suddenly has all the weight, all the gravity, all the resources. It grows in the space you create for it. This is how you find your voice, not by trying to shout over the crowd, but by silencing the crowd so your natural tone can be heard. Your authentic voice, the one that speaks with conviction, not reaction, with truth, not defensiveness, has been there all along. It was just buried under the noise of what you thought you had to answer, had to address, had to fix. When you stop giving microphone time to the hecklers, the keynote speaker can finally begin. Your decisions become more deliberate. Your actions become more aligned, because they are flowing from a source that is finally clear, finally audible. The world will try to fill your silence with its own agenda. It will see the quiet you have created and rush in with suggestions, with demands, with ready-made purposes for you. This is the final test of the amplifier. You must guard that silence as fiercely as you guard your attention. You must be the curator of that empty space. Only then will what is authentically yours rise to fill it. The right idea, the necessary plan, the genuine connection, the next correct step. So do not fear the quiet you create by ignoring the noise. That quiet is not a void. It is the most fertile ground you will ever own. It is where your true strength is grown, not from engagement with the outside, but from cultivation of the inner. In that silence, you are not being passive. You are listening. And for the first time, you can finally hear the signal through the static. What you ignore defines the shape of what remains. Make sure what remains is worth your life. There is a final, unsettling power in this silence, one that shifts the balance in any room, on any battlefield, digital or real. When you refuse to dance, the music stops for everyone, and in that sudden quiet, a profound truth is exposed. Many who demand your engagement are weaker than the silence. They fear. Consider the dynamic of all conflict. An insult is thrown, an accusation is made, a challenge is issued. It is a script. They have written their part and yours. They expect your lines, the defense, the anger, the explanation, the counterpunch. Your energy becomes the fuel for their drama. Your reaction confirms their importance, validates their stage. But when you offer nothing, you break the script. The stage vanishes from beneath them. They are left standing in the wings of a play that is not happening, holding a costume that has no meaning. This is not a defeat you inflict through force. It is a dissolution you achieve through absence. And it commands a deeper, more unnerving form of respect. Force meets force, and the stronger breaks the weaker. But silence does not meet force. It negates the arena where force matters. A shout into a void loses its power, not because the void shouts back, but because the void reveals the shout for what it is, a small, lonely sound. When you become that void, that calm, impenetrable non-reaction, you are not showing you can take a punch. You are showing the punch itself is irrelevant to your equilibrium. That is a form of strength that is alien and therefore terrifying, to those who understand only the currency of action and reaction. This silent power establishes boundaries that cannot be argued with. A wall can be scaled, a lock can be picked, a rule see and be debated, but a total, unwavering lack of engagement, there is no handhold there. There is no point of entry. It is a border defined not by a line in the sand, but by the sheer cliff face of your indifference. People learn the map of you very quickly. They learn which paths lead nowhere. And in learning that, they are forced to either go elsewhere or stand at the edge of that silence, confronting the reflection of their own futility. This does not make you friends, it makes you a fact, an immutable feature of the landscape. And we do not argue with mountains. Understand this, respect is not always warmth. Often, the deepest respect is cold. It is the respect given to a force of nature, to a principle that does not bend. The cheerful ally may be liked, the reactive enemy is understood, but the silent, unmovable object, that is the figure that occupies space in the mind, that changes calculations. They do not know what you will do, because you have shown them what you will not do. You will not play their game. And in withholding that, you hold all the mystery, and thus all the psychological advantage. This power unsettles because it is self-contained. It does not seek validation from the exchange. It does not need to win the argument, because it has refused to acknowledge the argument exists. While others are expending themselves, burning their composure like fuel, you are a closed system. Your dignity, your resolve, your purpose, these are internal matters. They are not negotiable items to be placed on the table for discussion. When someone tries to bargain for them, to chip away at them with words, your silence is the sound of the table being removed. There is nothing to bargain with. There is only you intact on your own terms. They will call it arrogance. Let them. What they name as arrogance is often the shock of encountering a will that does not need thee, our approval to exist. Your silence, after their provocation, is not a void of response. It is a response of a higher order. It says, I have seen your move, I have assessed it, and I have categorized it as beneath response. That is not a retreat. It is the ultimate evaluation, and it carries the weight of a final judgment. So when you stand in the face of the storm, and you simply do not react, you are not passive. You are broadcasting a signal on a frequency only the strong can receive. You are demonstrating a control so complete it does not need to prove itself. That is the power that ends conflicts before they begin. That is the respect earned not in the clash, but in the absolute decision to stand apart from it. The most powerful statement is often the one you never have to make. This power I have described is a scalpel, not a club. It is surgical. Its purpose is not destruction, but precision. And a weapon of precision demands the highest discipline, the discipline of discernment. To ignore everything is not strength, it is blindness. It is surrender to a different kind of noise, the internal noise of your own neglect. This is not the way. You must master the application. You must become a cartographer of engagement, mapping the territories where your silence is a fortress and where it would become a tomb. The man who ignores his enemies but also ignores his allies has built a prison, not a sanctuary. The man who silences the critics but also silences the honest, necessary critique has traded growth for a hollow victory. The art is in knowing when to close the gate and when to open the door. There is a silence that protects, and there is a silence that abandons. They look similar from the outside, but their source is everything. One is born of strength, the other of fear. One is a choice, the other is a reflex. You must interrogate your own motives. Are you ignoring this distraction to preserve your focus for a greater good? Or are you ignoring this responsibility because you fear the difficulty of the connection? Are you withholding your attention from a toxin, or are you withholding your presence from someone who needs it? The first is power. The second is a failure of courage. Know the terrain. Strategic silence is your weapon against manipulation, against the deliberate provocation designed to hijack your emotions, against the energy vampire who feeds on conflict, against the tidal wave of trivial data meant to drown your discernment. This is the noise. This is the static. Disconnect the wire. But there are other frequencies. The quiet voice of a partner who is hurting. That is not noise, that is a signal, however faint. The earnest critique from a trusted ally that grates against your pride. That is not an attack. It is data, essential for correction. The legitimate cry for help from the world you have chosen to protect. That is not a distraction. It is the mission itself. To meet these with the same wall of silence is to become the monster you sought to defend against. It is to let the tool master you. Here, then, is the balance. Your silence must be intentional, never habitual. It must be a decision made in the clear light of your purpose, not a shadow you retreat into by default. Before you deploy this power, you must ask the ruthless question, is this a threat to my purpose, or is this a part of my purpose? Am I ignoring an obstacle, or am I ignoring a duty? This is the final and most difficult mastery. It is easy to react to everything. It is also easy and ultimately weak to react to nothing. The true strength lies in the calibrated conscious choice, to have the capacity for immense engagement, and the discipline to withhold it until the moment is right, to possess a voice, and to know the profound power of not using it. To be so secure in your purpose that you can afford to listen deeply because you have already decided what you will not hear. Do not let this become an excuse for disconnection. Let it be the foundation for a more profound connection to the right things, the right people, the right path. Use your silence to clear the underbrush so you can see the true trails. Use it to drain the swamps of drama so you can build on solid ground. Then, when the noise has been silenced, you will know what deserves your voice. You will know when to speak, because you have mastered when not to. This power is not for the fragile ego that wishes to hide. It is for the resolved will that needs a clear field of action. Wield it not to escape the world, but to engage with the only parts of it that are real. The ultimate control is knowing what to let in.